Today, I'm going to take you through the journey of making one of my latest paintings using paints that I have never used before. The RSC recently announced that it was going to be doing a production of Studio Ghibli's My Neighbour Totoro, which is so exciting. I would love to see that. I would love to be in that. I would love to go and see that. As you know, I'm a big fan of Studio Ghibli's movies. I think the animations are just beautiful. And for this painting, I thought it might be a nice idea to pay tribute to My Neighbour Totoro. So I'm going to be doing an illustration in my style of My Neighbour Totoro. And for that, I'm going to be using this set of paints. It is Acrylic Gouache. I'm also going to be using a different paper by Winsor & Newton. It's an acrylic pad with a really textured surface, so it should work together. I stuck to a really limited palette though, so I'm not using all of these. I did, however, do a swatch of all of the colors, so I had an idea of what they look like on paper, if they're similar to the tube or whatnot. Very important to a swatch. I'm really excited to see how this turns out, and I look forward to seeing how we get on. The biggest difference between gouache and acrylic gouache is that regular gouache can be reactivated with water, but acrylic gouache, much like its sister counterpart acrylic, cannot be reactivated with water. So when you have applied the paint to the paper and it has dried, it's going to be really difficult for you to change what it is that you've put on the paper. It's also important to remember that gouache is a really fast drying paint. That is true for regular gouache and for acrylic gouache. So you really only have a couple of minutes to get to grips with what it is you are doing. And this can be really difficult for even experienced artists. I found that acrylic gouache also has the same quality of regular gouache in that when you have applied the paint, both of them dry a slightly different color to the one that you've mixed on the palette. So bear that in mind when you are mixing your gouache paints, that whatever you put down dries a slightly different color. And I found that the best way to get around this is just to have a spare piece of paper there to test the colors on before I put it on the actual illustration. This isn't actually the first time that I have painted a scene from Studio Ghibli's movies. My favorite Studio Ghibli film is Howl's Moving Castle, and I have already done a really small illustration in my sketchbook before of this, of a scene from this movie. If you want to watch the video, you absolutely can. You can click on the link above and it would take you to the video. It's a really short video, it's only like 5 minutes long, and it's just about my process on creating this little illustration. For that one, I just used gouache, and I did it on my sketchbook, but I was being really careful because my sketchbook isn't really designed for taking too many layers of paint. I knew when I started this piece that I wanted to incorporate a lot of thinner layers of paint. I was hoping that if I could do this, that it would help me build up the depth and the texture of the character. It's really difficult to do this with regular gouache because if you apply lots of thinner layers, especially with more water, then it will reactivate the layer below and you risk making your colors like super muddy. So obviously, it was more beneficial for me using acrylic gouache because it's a lot harder for you to reactivate the paint again because it's not meant to do that. So I wanted to build up a lot more layers. I'm really pleased that I did, because the first layer, the color was super inconsistent. The paint was patchy, and I really couldn't figure out if it was because of the paint or if it was because of the paper, because I was using different paper and I was thinking, why did I use new paper? But then I used the paint on also another piece of paper and it had the same effect. So I'm pretty confident it's the paint. So I would definitely recommend, if you use it, that you use plenty of layers. It took me like 2 or 3 to get a really, really nice matte layer, which we all associate with gouache, and it's one of its most defining qualities, is that really matte finish. It's a little bit tricky to get the right thickness when applying a layer of paint using gouache, because if you use too much gouache, it can crack once it has dried, and that creates a really, it looks rubbish. So you have to really find a nice balance. I'd say you do have to go to the extreme to get it to crack, but it's still something to be mindful of. The brand of paint that I am using in this video is Holbein. I don't know if you're familiar with Holbein, but it is one of my absolute favorite brands. This is a really large set, and shout out to my brother because he actually bought this for me for a Christmas present. So thank you very much, bro. It's amazing. I really enjoyed using it, and one of my favorite things that Holbein does so well is it is so good at capturing colors. They are the most vivid, the brightest, sharpest colors, and it honestly always surprises me when I'm using them just how vivid it is. It's really one of its best qualities. If you've used acrylic gouache before, then leave a comment and let us know what you thought about it. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. The next video that I'm going to be doing will be part of the Draw With Me sketch series. So I will be posting a poll in the community tab for people to vote again on what they might like to see me sketch. I really enjoy doing those videos, by the way. I really like engaging with other people. So I hope that you'll join me for that. Thank you so much for all of your lovely comments that I've got recently on my channel. I really do appreciate them, and each and every one of you for your support. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you liked the video, and I'll see you around. Bye everyone.